Thank you. Neil Hamilton.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. I regret that I'm not able to approve the motion before the Assembly this afternoon. It troubles me on several levels. In particular, we are not a self-selecting club in this Assembly with complete freedom to impose terms of membership upon it. We derive our right to sit here not from the approbation of our peers. Kindly listen to what I'm going to say before you start heckling. We derive our right to sit here not from the approbation of our peers, but from the votes of the people. And excluding any member is a serious interference with the democratic rights of the people who are to be represented by us, depriving North Wales, in this particular instance, of one of its members. Now, all parliaments, of course, have rules to exclude unruly members, to maintain order in proceedings, without which we can't function properly. But very few other institutions around the world seek to exclude members for using objectionable words outside the relevant assembly, let alone, as in this case, in a private telephone conversation between close friends, never intended to be made public. And in this case, the position is even worse. Well, members, if they don't listen, they're not going to be able to reach a rational decision on this, are they? So I just kindly ask them to afford me the courtesy of listening to what I have to say, particularly as nobody else is likely to make these points. In this case, the position is even worse because the conversation was clandestinely recorded by somebody who was at the time a close friend, personal friend, but in due course became Michelle Brown's Chief of Staff, was then subsequently sacked for gross misconduct, including breach of confidence, and he maliciously published the recording as an act of revenge. Now, in a world where surveillance technology is everywhere, admitting this kind of evidence in disciplinary proceedings creates obvious dangers of entrapment and prejudice, and not only in relation to words. Such material would not be generally admissible as prosecution evidence in a court of law, and indeed it may breach rights under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, the right to privacy in your private life. And AMs deserve the same protection, I believe, under our rules of procedure here, as the law would afford them outside. The House of Commons claims no right to censor the private conversations of MPs. Indeed, it doesn't even claim the right to punish MPs for the most vile and disgusting public utterances, like John McDonnell, who joked, apparently, about Esther McVeigh saying, "Why aren't we lynching the bastard?" That is a joke. Emma Dent-Coad, the Labour MP for Kensington, who described Sean Bailey, a black Conservative member of the London Assembly, as a token ghetto boy and a freeloading scumbag. And has very cheerfully put on the internet a redesign of the Tory tree logo with a black person hanging from it.
Are you taking interventions? No.
I don't think...
No, the member's not going to take interventions.
Madam Deputy, I know it's Deputy Speaker, and Deputy Presiding Officer, if I were to give away at this point. I believe that what the temporary chairman of the committee said is a serious matter, that the Code of Conduct applies to members at all times in their public and their private lives, in all circumstances. This, I believe, is a startling and sinister development, that the Assembly seeks the right to police the private lives of Assembly members, to censor them, and indeed ultimately to punish them for bringing the Assembly into disrepute. I don't regard the Assembly as being brought into disrepute by anything that anybody says outside this place. We all have responsibility for our own words and actions elsewhere, and I don't believe myself to be tainted by the actions or words of anybody else in this Assembly, and I think everybody else should take the same general view. After all, what does bring the Assembly into disrepute is a matter which must be regarded as highly subjective. I regret that in the course of the report there is no detailed rebuttal, or indeed any rebuttal, of the arguments which I put forward on Michelle Brown's behalf as her advocate before the committee. I'm grateful that the committee allowed me to do that. I don't seek to defend the use of the word coconut at all. It does appear to be in wide use, but the document which I distributed earlier on shows a huge number of highly offensive uses of the word coconut by members or supporters of the Labour Party. I don't know whether the Labour group who made this complaint against Michelle Brown, not as individuals but as a group, have made any complaints about the racism in the Labour Party, the anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and the vile and disgusting things which are said not in...
Yeah. Can I ask the member to wind up, please?
That party. Yes, the
Can
word
you wind
copula
up, please?
can be I will wind up, Deputy Presiding. But is it any more disparaging and offensive than Joyce Watson, for example, in this chamber, describing UKIP as radical?
Please do so.
Sentences.
Well, no, it's not a last couple of
Is it
sentences.
any worse
One,
than
please.
Leanne Wood falsely describing me as a Holocaust denier? A most grotesque libel upon me. It seems to me that the indignation of the Labour group is highly subjective, and on those grounds I would urge the Assembly not to